What's up, everybody? My name is Kevin Allen. Some of you know me as the Fantasy Football Geek. And we are here to discuss Week 1 Fanduel Daily Fantasy Football action. I couldn't be more excited. Even though it's August 17th right now, so we're really 2 weeks into training camp to the preseason. We've seen a couple of weeks worth of games, getting some clarity on what's going to happen for Week 1. Some value situations have come up. Rex Burkhead is a big one. A couple other ones. But, more things are still to come. So it's still very early in the offseason. But, hey, the salaries are out for FanDuel Week 1. Salaries are out for DraftKings Week 1. And let's take a look at these numbers and see what we think right now is going to be the case. And today I'm looking at the running back position on FanDuel for Week 1 of the 2018 daily fantasy football season. Really excited. So I've got the screen loaded up with FanDuel running back salaries this week. And one of the interesting things, so you can see the three big dogs. You've got Bell, Kamara, and David Johnson. Zeke Elliott's kind of hanging in there too, and it's interesting the rest of them, but we'll point out these top four, right? Le'Veon Bell, always in play, although he's coming off potentially at this moment not being in training camp, so we have to really watch that situation with Bell, because I remember last season, I don't believe he did very well in his first week. They didn't give him a ton of touches, so even though this matchup against Cleveland looks really good, it could be a trap. It's definitely not going to be the chalk. Alvin Kamara, on the other hand, is going to be the chalk play at 8,700. He will be the highest owned stud, I think, by a mile. And he's going to be the chalk play. So this is one of those places where we're going to look and say, all right, maybe in a cash game I'll either chalk. Maybe in a tournament it makes sense to pivot to some of these other guys. But Kamara with no Ingram in there at home against Tampa, it's almost too good. It's one of those times where you're like, yeah, maybe this is too good to be true. Maybe I shouldn't even mess with it. Obviously not, but that's that type of a situation. Then we have David Johnson. I love David Johnson here. At home, Washington's a good defense, but David Johnson's not the kind of running back. Washington had a good run defense last season. I don't know if they're good. You don't know what's going to happen Week 1. Week 1 is always crazy. You almost want to ignore preconceived notions about this defense being good or that one being bad. Teams are not in sync yet in Week 1. Sometimes it works on the offense too, which is why Week 1 is one of those times definitely where you don't have to really go crazy with the chalk either, because teams just aren't in sync and weird stuff is going to happen. So David Johnson I like, though, on paper, great spot. He cannot be stopped. So, if Washington had a good line against the run, he's a wide receiver, too. He gets 7-8 targets per game. The screen. Love it. I don't know if it goes back now. Of course not. But when he's in the game, he's getting 6, 7, 8 targets a game. And we all remember situations where he's faced tough run defenses and performed in the passing game. So I don't think you can stop David Johnson. I love him. Anytime he's going to be lower owned than someone else. Think about it. If Kamara's going to be 40% owned and David Johnson 17% or 15%, is Kamara, is he such a lock to outscore the less expensive David Johnson? In tournaments, I don't think so. And less so, I think, for Zeke. I love Zeke Elliott all the time, but on the road to Carolina, technically not a good matchup. I prefer running backs favored at home. I think he's going to be an underdog in this game. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Melvin Gordon, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette. All almost the same price as Zeke Elliott. And oddly, on DraftKings, and I'm just going to point out a price discrepancy situation. You got Zeke at 7,700, bunched up with the expensive guys. Fournette dropped to 71, Kareem Hunt 69, 68. There's a massive drop in salary on DraftKings at that level of player compared to on Fanduel, which tells me these guys are Gordon, Hunt, Fournette, Barkley, all well over 1,000 below Zeke Elliott, or definitely over David Johnson. And 600 off Elliott, 900 off Elliott. So 900, 800. Basically what this is saying is these guys are overpriced on FanDuel. If you're going to play them, I'd rather play them on DraftKings. That was my point there. That said, I mean, Gordon, I like his spot at home against Kansas City. I think also a little bit of a lower ownership play, particularly on FanDuel when the salary's a little bit over too high. Same thing with Hunt. I mean, Chargers, all of these guys can have a good game. You know, in tournaments, yeah. Barkley, nah. Tournament play against the Jags there. I mean, you don't want to go too crazy. McCaffrey, sure. A little bit of a guy, you know, maybe you like a little bit more on DraftKings with the full PPR than I do on FanDuel. Not a cash play for me here. I think, you know, a tournament dart, he can break one for a touchdown. He's had big games before. I'm not going to be too crazy about McCoy, but here's a spot that I really like. Dalvin Cook, when he played last season, looked really good. You know, had a 25-point game. Look at the touches. You know, 22, 127. I think this is the game he got hurt. So, you know. But this guy was on track. I mean, he was looking pretty good. He had 2 excellent games, 1 bad game, and then I think he got hurt playing this other game. He was good when he was playing. He was coming off of injury, but at home against San Francisco. San Francisco is not known for having a spectacular run defense. And this is a home game. Minnesota's going to be favored. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think both sides of this game are sneaky good to play because both of these offenses are really good. Like, at first you think, all right, the Vikings have a really good defense. We know this. They're at home and blah, blah, blah. But that's true. But Garoppolo has, in his run with the 49ers, has looked really good every single game, regardless of the matchup. So, yeah, it's a tough spot. But if San Francisco can put up points, let's say Minnesota's defense isn't perfectly in sync. Normally you would say, oh, I'm not touching anybody at Minnesota. That's exactly the kind of play that we should give a shot in tournaments too. In week 1. Like, yeah, all right, at Minnesota. You don't play anyone at Minnesota. No, you know what? Week 1, what if their defense isn't in perfect sync? And what if Garoppolo has that magic touch? Like, he's that one of those type of quarterbacks, like a Brady, that no one's going to really, you know, in its prime, even a great defense, he was still putting up numbers. Sneaky tournament situation going on there. But even without the tournament aspect, I think Dalvin Cook is in a good spot one way or the other. Even if it's a, you know, defensive game, I mean, that's going to favor the running game of Minnesota. So, you know, I don't think San Francisco's defense is that good. So, you know, the Vikings at home, they're going to be scoring. I think Cook is in a great spot, assuming he's healthy, and hopefully, you know, we'll get word on that. So, obviously, as the offseason progresses, we'll see. But if he looks to be 100%, I love this spot. He'll be one of my favorites in week 1. McKinnon, definitely only tournament type of play on the road at the Vikings. As you said, tournament option, but not somebody that you want to really touch in cash games right now. I don't think so. Joe Mixon, same deal. Mixon is the kind of player you might want to use when they're at home, favored. Like, that's going to be his best situations. I think that, you know, Colts defense is bad, and this is like a GPP play if you want. I think, you know, he has a chance to go off just like any player. Colts can be terrible. You want exposure to him in tournaments for sure. But I think also if Cincinnati's playing from behind, you're going to see a lot of Gio Bernard in the passing game. And it's no lock that Mixon's going to have a big game. We've seen him featured in this offense last season, and he was just aight. Let's take a look. I mean, what are we going off of? He had the backfield. 8.2 points. One reception, 2, 3, because they bring in Gio Bernard. This is why I'm not drafting this guy almost at all. I haven't drafted him yet. Because, he never showed me that he can do it. I mean, he had the one good game, great. But there were a lot of not good games. 20 touches. All right, at Denver. Tough game. They go away from him when they're behind. Comes out of the game. This is when he had the backfield. Like Hill was out of the picture. They'll just abandon it when they're behind. They'll go to the Gio Bernard version of their attack. Even in the games where he played, I mean, I guess we could say touchdown regression, but there's just not a lot of targets and receptions going on here. So seems pretty sketchy. Like, not a guy I'm going to get too excited about. Ever. Don't like Henry, outside of like a crazy tournament dart throw. Splitting touches. I think the ceiling is limited. Alex Collins I like a lot. Buffalo, terrible team. I think Baltimore could dominate them defensively, and Collins get like a bunch of goal line opportunities, kill the clock at the end at one of the Baltimore games. Clock kill. That's what's, that's when I envision this game, that's what I'm seeing happening. I love Collins here. I don't know if I'm ready for a cash play with him. Like right now, obviously it's early, but I really like Alex Collins this week 1. I mean, Buffalo, he's at home. It just looks so good on paper. Kenyon Drake, I think this guy's going to be low owned. I don't get it. Why? He's in a good spot. He's at home, Tennessee. I mean, I'm going to have some Kenyon Drake. I don't think he's a cash play, but I mean, he's a starter. I'm not too worried about Frank Gore. I don't think it's I'm not sure if it's a cash play, like I said, because we don't know what kind of team Miami has. I could change my mind there, but I like a workhorse at home for 6,600. Fanduel now has a flex. You have to save money somewhere. So he could be a nice flex play. Collins, definitely. I wish it was all running back spots this week instead of having to pick 3 wide receivers, because there's a lot of them that look to be in really good spots. Home, good shape. Lamar Miller, more of a tournament play. Patriots, they don't have a spectacular defense. You can score on them, and I think this game is going to be... Listen, this is going to be the chalk game, and I actually think if you want exposure to it, Lamar Miller will be one of the lowest owned players in that chalk game for what it's worth. These guys are out. Burkhead, chalk, very high owned. One of the things I like is Burkhead's going to be so high owned because of his situation and Michelle not playing, and rightfully so. He's at home, Houston. I'm not going 100% because of these other spots. Well, yeah, sure, Burkhead could have a good game, but what if Drake or Miller or Collins or Chris Thompson can outscore him? Any one of them can. So I like a lot of spots, and because Rex Burkhead is going to be very high owned, it's just something to be aware of in tournaments. Again, in cash games, feels pretty safe. It does. Feels pretty safe. It's the Patriots. Now, I have seen where the Patriots start slow. There have been a couple of years where that's happened. We've seen situations where, it wasn't clicking week 1. Something to keep in mind. Deion Lewis, not my favorite. Not enough touches, not enough ceiling. He could have a big game, but it's more of a 3%, 4% out of 150 lineups. tournament exposure kind of situation. Hoyce Freeman, Chris Carson, you know, he's going to get a full boatload of work, but at Denver, nah. Peyton Barber's going to play. Has he ever done anything? Even with 23, I mean, you know, they throw to him. Can't complain for that price. Worth a shot, I think, in some tournaments also. He's going to start. I have to say, at this point, for Fanduel, that's about it. I usually don't go below this level of running back. This area is about it. Fanduel, we need touchdown scorers. We need guys who are going to get a ton of looks. Running back is the most consistent position. It's where we're going to try to fill our flex spot, I think, definitely in cash games. But I think across the board, it's generally better to have a running back there. They're more predictable. And that's why this season, the running back spot on FanDuel is going to be so important. With the flex being what it is, we're not going to really be able to jam 3 studs as much as we all want to do it. And we're going to have to choose one up here and then kind of make decisions. A lot of guys to like this week. I think it's a really fun week 1 to handcraft lineups, with mixing and matching up some of these players, all with the possibility, especially in tournaments, with the possibility of putting up a big day. And we certainly know who the chalk will be, or who it seems like it's going to be week 1, with Burkhead and Kamara kind of leading that pack. So I'm excited to see how it goes, and it was real fun to look at the running back position. Again, if you want to read my stuff, get my picks in season, all the great benefits, optimizer, domination station, pro coaching, Slack, all that stuff, go to dfsarmy.com, sign up as a VIP member. We have multiple coaches working. We have our optimizer going, incredible research station, lots of really cool tools, everything that you want to be successful in daily fantasy football this season. Get in there. Great stuff. I will be back again to talk about the wide receiver position and the quarterback position and the tight end and the defense and everything for a week in my early looks at FanDuel Week 1 salaries for daily fantasy football. Thanks, guys.